among all the other Indian festivities that we have, happy new accounting year for us accountants and other professionals. And most importantly, state of Maharashtra has removed all COVID protocols, so work from home has ended for most of us, and life is back to normal now. But there is one thing which has and is changing, that is technology. COVID had an absolute inverse effect on technology. The need for less physical appearances, the need to check everything from our homes. Work from home was a compulsion, and technology had to rise to the occasion. Today's podcast will focus on technology a lot. And with us today is Mr. Ravi Kajaria. He is the founder and digital transformation lead at Granuler CIO Consulting. He is an ERP expert, corporate IT trainer, and QSM expert. With over 24 years of overall IT consulting experience in various companies, with global clients, with whom he has done a lot of SAP implementations and other IT solutions. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Thank you so much, Anirudh. Thank you.
So firstly, how do you think that IT, even after the post-lockdown phase, will be a key part for auditors?
Oh, well, I liked the point that you mentioned about COVID bringing in less physical presence for people. Now that kind of spanned across industries. Uh, well, the major challenge that I really see from an auditor point of view, because he has to be physically, be there in the office. Now, I would really love to hear some stories from auditors. But if you look at how technology is, kind of spanning into this area as well, is a different story altogether. Well, many countries have already evolved into it. Well, coming to India, we are still in that evolving phase of it. The technology tools are available. It's just that we need to exploit them. That's what I see. So from an auditor point of view, we are, I feel, still in that mid stage. But well, many the top five consulting firms, they've already adjusted to this new way of working. They have kind of taken up technology in a way that there are certain tools that they use which connect to the client systems, and they give them the data that is required. So a lot is explored that way, and there are reporting analytics that come out of it, which give them the required levy. I'm talking about the top notch companies, but what about the mid sized and the small sized companies? How do you really audit them? So that's going to be a question mark always, and that's something that the auditors will have to keep hunting around, right? So this is the technology that is right now bringing across a change, and at the same time, the auditors also need to quite expand their area of knowledge, not only in the new accounting standards or any changes, but also into technology. This is my personal view.
Yeah, because there are many stuff which we can work from home. Most of it is today because of extensive documentation and the ability to transfer these documents on a reasonable basis. That was not possible. However, there are certain things like physical verification of fixed assets or stock audits, basically. These are, I mean, even thinking of conducting them virtually is going is a nightmare. And everybody has actually in the audit reports written that because of COVID-19 restrictions, we are not able to conduct it as the way we wanted it to. So, is there any solution regarding that which IT can help?
Definitely. I'll tell you an experience about one of our prospect clients. They were a mid-sized company. They had a corporate office here in Mumbai, and they had a plant in Ahmedabad. Now, apparently, due to the lockdown, they could not visit the plant. Okay. Now, they did not know what was the current stock that was available in terms of your inventory, or what was there in the warehouse, and they were a complete export unit. Now, this was for the entrepreneur, and they immediately needed to onboard onto an ERP. First of all, they need to digitize or digitalize their processes. That was one step. Now beyond that, once these systems start giving meaningful data, it is the auditor's responsibility, according to me, to how to get that data remotely onto his machine. How does he access that data remotely? So I would say, he needs to really work with the promoters, tell them, okay, I need this confidential data at my laptop. Now, gone are those days where, COVID is gone. Okay, I would still visit physically. That option still remains, but why not exploit the digital options? Right. So technology gives a lot of options. It's just that, that awareness is not gone. People still do not want to run on, their older ways of working, I would say. Many of us still use those traditional accounting, financial softwares, right?
Yeah.
Which are good. I don't deny that. But then how about the manufacturing data? Right. You don't really know. How about the supply chain planning? There are tools. I'll tell you, one of the large pharma companies has designed one technology tool which makes the auditors or the FDA regulators, to kind of do a plant audit based on, using some technology, wearing a glass, and they are able to visit the plant, right? So those things are there. That is quite an advanced stage, I would say. But if you look at the mid-sized companies, I think that's where people really need to have a levy. And you also look at it, these are those companies where they have evolved again in their growth strategy, so they do not have a technology roadmap, right? So we see a problem statement there as a technology person, because these companies do not have a full-time CIO. Well, neither can they really go for it.
Yeah.
Good CIO, I would say. But then they need to get into that mindset. Okay, I need to kind of build this kind of a roadmap. So there are advisory services available today in the market, like like how do I really plan for the next 2 3 years? If it's ERP, then what next from ERP, whether I go for CRM or the supply chain planning system, and then the analytics space. Ultimately the auditor should get the report automatically. There should not be any manual intervention out there. Otherwise, there is scope of, a lot of mistakes happening, or probably the data could be incorrect, or the data could be 10 days prior. There are a lot of
Yeah.
transactions happened in the previous 10 days. So one really needs to look at technology as the main pillar to enable the business.
Because from an anti-fraud perspective, I always look at information inconsistency. You do it physically, but your system is showing something else.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, see, if you let's learn from the banking and regulatory. These this particular sector has really focused on the regulation aspect. Now, I'll tell you, there are a lot of tools available, for large banking sector, where it sits in the database there. Okay, one of the large banks is also using that. I'll not name them, and it actually keeps detecting. It has an artificial intelligence going on there. Okay, and it can detect a probability of a fraud happening, and immediately pounce. Now, see this happening at a database level, right? Because the bank knows today that tomorrow, if there is a fraud happening, ultimately they'll have to churn the money out from their own pocket. So they might better invest on the being safer initially itself. You get my point. So
Yeah.
so what happens is these technologies are right now available. Not even the top the software technology firms partner with these product companies and get it implemented. So I mean, technology is there. It's just that the mindset is missing. That's what I would say on the promoter side, and even on the auditor side. That's something really that gap needs to be filled up.
See, when it comes to this mindset issue and especially anti-fraud activities, the core is always efficiency. There is a certain level of efficiency which needs to be there, and if that efficiency is not there, there's a probability it's a fraudulent activity or maybe some bad business practices. The way I look at CIO is that CIO is a good one, actually improves your efficiency, and it can do it substantially. So, especially in this, during this COVID realignment time, what do you think was one of the key areas where a CIO could have helped?
Uh, of course, uh, it was more like a panicky situation for companies.
Mm.
Okay, they did not know which way to go for. First initially they just wanted their people to connect to their servers and at least use Excel to promote the business. So the major thing that was lacking was a business continuity plan. Okay,
Mm.
now that was not there. Uh, Whether it be connecting to the servers or whether you have a disaster recovery site, that's a different thing, because you're seeing a lot of political unrest happening across the globe. So what is your
Lanka
business
is in a
continuity?
horrible situation now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if they have an office out here in India or Singapore, can they really access some server which is again a disaster recovery server and still continue the business? Now that is one example. Now coming back to your question on the COVID aspect, okay, the people started giving laptops at home, okay, saying, "Hey guys, you start working now." I'm talking about more like a traditional
Yeah,
promoter-driven company here, and people they started working. That was okay, but then the major threat came was cyber attacks,
phishing.
because you're working from home, people are not aware, and everyone is kind of connecting to the internet. uh, in a way it was good, but then cyber attacks was something no one knew about it, and a lot of companies, they are saying that around 600% increase of cyber attack has been done. And recently there was a big money heist on 600 million amount of bitcoins being transferred just with one
One,
particular
one,
heist.
yeah. There's
Right
one that
now,
one couple did
uh,
that, right?
right now,
Yeah.
so it was not that, okay, you are in COVID now, let us do a digital transformation right away. That was not possible. See, because it's a journey. You really need to have a strategy around it. People feel, okay, I will buy this product that will solve my problem. Yes, it could solve your short term problem, but what about that long term strategy? You need to have a strategy for aligning an IT.
Mm.
Like, I'll give you an example, something that lacks today. If you're going for an ERP, the promoters usually take the decision and dump the ERP on the people, saying, "Hey, start using this ERP from tomorrow." And believe me, the software vendor is in a gain there, because he is just going to bill the license cost to the client.
Yeah.
Well, on the other hand, if there is a proper advisory in between, he would say, "Hold on, okay, let me first understand your business process,
Mhm.
because every company is different, every business is different,
Mm.
right? Let us align and come out with certain KPIs that you wish to achieve out of this technology transformation project in your
Yeah.
organization. It could be small, it could be big. Now, if this technology is bringing in some productivity, let us measure that. Let us bring some number around it, whether in
Mm.
terms of productivity efforts or whether in terms of the dollar value or the INR value that you're going to gain. Once these two align, and then you actually measure it post the implementation. And in this process, you are doing a change management activity where you onboard all your business people, educate them properly that
Mhm.
this is what we are working. Because you could have, these promoter driven companies, you could have people who have also done their post retirement and still working in the system. And how do you really bring them on board? Because that's a valuable resource. You don't want
Yeah.
to lose them, right? So that's a very important aspect. And now, if you look at it, this system is in place. The people putting in right data on a regular basis in a structured format, then the auditor gets what he requires.
So these are all the aspects that were meant for the company to do for the efficiency. Now let's come to the auditor. Right now, during the last 2 years and today also, what do you think has changed that much for the auditor, which will actually even further have an impact today?
One thing that has changed, companies have become much more smarter. Their clients have become much more smarter. I would say they have started using advanced systems now. Okay. Now, in this course, if the auditor is not educated on technology, the client would start framing a mindset saying, "Okay, am I with the right auditor?"
Yeah.
Okay, because I have to feed him, or I have to kind of educate him.
Mhm.
Why doesn't he take a step further and take some training, or bring about that change in his own mindset? That
Mhm.
is one. because he's used to that, the people-based kind of process where he wants to pick up a phone or come and meet you, where the promoter says, okay, I'm giving you the data. Now, if you have any doubt, you kind of come back to me, or possibly, you access my data from the database via a VPN, and, connect. Now, for the auditor, oh, I have to connect a database via VPN, take a backup on a regular, or check this analytical tool over a mobile phone or something. I mean, so, it's a transition happening for them. Okay. So the auditor really needs to, train himself, understand how the database works, what's an RDBMS, take that aspects. In fact, the expectation now would be that the auditors has an opportunity to kind of gain quick knowledge and educate their clients, how to transform their business. Right. So, giving an example, there are many CFOs who kind of approach advisory people like us, and then go with a strategy saying, okay, how about financially you need this, but how about technology also bringing this kind of change to you? Okay, because both go hand in hand. Now, so that's the change for an auditor going to come across. He needs to change his mindset. He needs to learn a lot.
No, because the technological aspect during my younger days, there used to be these MCA filings, and we had these digital signatures of all of our clients. They used to give it to us, and it's a headache. You do the Java version never worked. You have to update Java, and some computers it won't work also. Then the MCA site, it used to hang, and there are times where I had to make a payment of some 2,500 rupees, and by doing and it's usually they come on the due date. Then doing that 10,000 rupees went, and I had to wait for 2 days for the money to come back because everything comes. Technology in one way, it can get tiresome, the simple practical parts. But the thing is that we must always, as you were saying, that there is always a efficiency betterment over here. And you think that what happened before MCA, if there are on digital signatures, you have to get it attested, go to the post office and pray to God that it reaches before the due date.
Right. And then, you got a point, right? Like, I still know a lot of, auditing firms, they could have been smaller in size, but they are still comfortable with using the earlier Windows version. Now, this is a very, very basic thing. Okay. Now, when they go to a topmost client, saying, the client would look at it, what is he using as a system now? Because now the
Windows
client is,
XP.
yeah, when the client
XP.
is, oh yeah, I've seen people, or possibly they might be using one of the older Windows version, not the XP level, but
Yeah,
it could be Windows 7 or 8.
yeah, yeah.
Now here the client is already on O365. Let's look at it, okay? And he's saving data on OneDrive, and he would tell the client, to tell the auditor, "Hey, why don't you access data from my, from the OneDrive?" And here the auditor is like, okay, let me look at it, because he needs to upgrade his systems now. So it's become, you need to know what's on cloud, what's on premise, at least
Yeah.
those basic things, right? I mean, the client today is taking his office over his mobile. I mean, he's not going to, kind of, you just open the mobile, share the link saying, hey, my data is over here. This is one of the very basic, things. And even as you said, the lot of clients start using those softwares like DocuSign, or, they want to kind of, click and, have a digital signature in place, or possibly use those. Now you've got those DSC coming in, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to fill in those government tenders, you need to have a DSC there, or you cannot fill that. So these are all technological advancements, and see, now not only the audit, even you need to, as an auditor, connect to the legal teams, because that's the whole, bring the right clauses in, or, get, so again, I'll tell you, the auditors have a really long space to cover. It's not difficult, I would say, but they just need to be much more open-minded now.
Yeah, because the Windows XP was going on. I remember many people using XP, and it only ended because of the ransomware attacks.
A lot of auditors are still on, using extensive use of Excel. That's very good, not a problem at
Yeah.
all. They use the pivot reporting, no problem. But then why are you downloading the client data? Then, you download it from their analytical tool, make your own analytics, and send that Excel to the client. The client really doesn't want that. He said, you use one source of data, let's not have redundant data. But the client ultimately feels, okay, the auditor wants this, I'll have to do it.
So tech inconsistency is now there in a way.
We are still in that stage where it's a race, a change of mindset. And if you look at the requirements from the government now, in terms of the corporate strategy, or
Yeah.
getting the right data into the government sources, if you are a listed or a public limited company, and so they have to upgrade no matter what. Recently I was, we were in a conference, met this customer. They had put in their IPO. Okay, and they were like around a 600 crore kind of a turnover, and apparently they were still using the basic financial software. Now it was their independent director who actually advised them to, hey, why don't you upgrade on ERP, at least go for a basic ERP. So see, this is the level now. Okay, so you have to kind of educate everyone in that journey and get an ERP done. Right. So the right reporting comes from the right source, no manual intervention. And even the auditors need to follow that. There is no manual intervention. And even the auditor feels comfortable, right? Every data is entered in the right way by right people. You cannot change the data once you have entered a particular record in the system.
Plus no backdated entries.
Absolutely no backdated entries. So in fact, it's much more easier for auditors now, I would say, because they are playing with the data which is which they can trust upon. But if the auditor feels, I'm going to download this data in Excel, do an analysis and do it, no, rather I would say, as an auditor, go to the client, tell him, I need these analytical reports in your system. I'm not going to design any new reports at my end. So then it works out well. You need to be knowing, how possibly some analytical tools, how a Tableau works, or a Power BI, or a ClickSense. There are many tools in the market which clients use it. Okay, you need to be slightly knowing, how to get the data, or the slicing and dicing, and bring out the right data and get your audit reports in.
Yeah, because there's also Power BI. Power BI is very popular today.
They all do the same job. But ultimately, it's just a mindset, as I said, because on one hand, we have a traditional promoter-driven company, and the other is your traditional auditor who still believes in, oh wow, I have a lot of knowledge, But yes, knowledge is good, but you need to advance technologically. I hope I'm making sense in, bringing up this topic of, that how to gain more technical knowledge if you're an auditor, rather than, it's just the newer ways of working.
Yeah, because if you look at from an analytical perspective, in anti-fraud activity, there is something called Benford's law, which is a very, actually, if you read it on a book, it looks complicated with that logarithm, but it's actually a pretty simple concept. And with the current analytical tools, you can do it in a second, even if you just have access to the ledger. But the thing is that anti-fraud is not a primary aspect of an audit. But if anybody, just for the sake of it, if they think something is wrong in a branch or something is wrong in a particular area, they can just put one small command to it. Just say, if you have access to ledger, if there are any fake entries.
Got it right there. See, look at it that if you are getting that data much more easier now, rather focus your energy into something else, how to build up on their data. I know many of us, we do this even as of today. We kind of have data in the Excel, and then we share it over Gmail or possibly any other, emailing formats. Now, see, if you look at it, let's say a small-time auditor, they do not have their own domain. Okay. Like a granuler.com. Okay. They would still work on a Gmail. Now they would share the client's data from their own Gmail, saying, okay, I have analyzed, this is your numbers for this is your profit and loss statement. Now see, one is you're sharing data on a common emailing system. Okay, so there is a high possibility of you leaking that data. It's a company's data. Right. So one is, it's better, invest in a small domain so that you also are in a secure environment. Okay. You have some basic sort of an antivirus, at your end. Okay. Because this is what clients would start expecting. Trust me, when we go to the promoter-driven companies, we tell them that how are you going to secure not only your data, but where all you are sharing your data? What is your auditor doing? What is your vendor doing? How is he storing your data? If he is not secure, you better change the vendor or you please educate him. Okay, so that kind of a movement is coming now, and people are also acknowledging that fact.
Yeah.
This is just one example. I said many people use this common chatting tool WhatsApp. They would just copy it from their tally system, click there and send it. Hey, this is the number. Trust me, this is
It's
the most
dangerous.
very, very dangerous. So everything is being tracked. Trust me,
I'll
what's
tell you a
happening over
funny
there.
thing also. One of my colleagues, I am looking at his WhatsApp status, and is written tedious this much, this, that. What is this? I think you incorrectly sent this. No, I was actually forwarding to somebody. That's the status पे चला गया था. So he broadcasted the entire thing. Please don't do that.
See, now it's just about you're not technologically aware what's happening.
Yeah.
See, there are a lot of trainings happening over online. One is to keep educating himself. It's all about that, because you as an auditor is playing with some critical data
Yeah.
on the internet for someone else. Okay, it's your responsibility how you secure that data, because you could actually, I don't know how your agreements would be, but I'm sure that the client could actually put a clause in that. It says my confidentiality of data is lying with you. You are an auditor. You're going to sign on that.
Yes. It's also
Balance sheet.
professional misconduct if you don't follow confidentiality.
So when it comes out in the corporate frauds, okay, when this whole study is done, okay, these people come with the technology people as well along with them, and they kind of know where the first data leakage happened. Now, if it's unfortunately by this auditor, like you just mentioned about this WhatsApp thing, right? Believe me, it could actually be pretty lethal on him. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just about being unaware and being innocent. It's not going to work out, because technology is going to catch you if you are not going to catch the bus.
Yeah. Plus, during this COVID time, there is an actual report which actually said that cyber attacks have doubled. Their speed has doubled within 2 years. Because ACFE had put on a very interesting article at the beginning of the pandemic. They actually predicted this because of a very simple reason that because of lockdowns, people were committing petty theft. They won't be able to go on the street. So they have to use technology now. They'll be upgrading themselves to spear phishing or even those call center scams. So there is going to be a technological advancement in the fraud area. So we have to be ready before they are ready.
Absolutely, and and then see other side of it. What happens? I'll tell you. See, look at a goody scenario. I'll give you a scenario where, assuming say you are an auditor, Anirudh, and you go to the client and tell them, hey, you are technologically, you need a lot of advancement. Now you go to them and they understand and acknowledge that they have a proper, roadmap and a strategy through an advisory firm or a CIO there. Now, see, if they build that system today, okay, what happens is suddenly all their data is in a secured environment. Okay. So even their auditors or everyone is given the right, stakeholders are given the right authority to see the data. Not everyone is seeing all the data available. I know of a very large company, they were sharing their appraisal HR data over email, and that was actually shared on the social media by some employee because he was not happy with his own appraisals. Okay. So you don't want to come into that kind of a space, right, where the data is lying in Excel. Well, see, we all use Excels. That's fine. But there has to be a limit to using it. Confidential, classified data has to be in the system. And only the most authoritative person is using that. That's the point I'm making.
Data integrity 101. Back to that.
If it comes from the auditor like you, then, it makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. So auditors actually, it's like, see, the thing is that technology always has a ability to pull other people with it. If one area gets in front, then everybody is forced to follow it. Looking at the role of the auditor and technology post-COVID, how do you think that's going to play out?
I think I look at this as more as an opportunity for the auditors now, rather than a problem statement. Say if you have your client, he is moving on to an ERP, you are now going to get the meaningful data that you as an auditor need with a click of a button. Earlier, the stages were where you used to follow up with the client. Yeah, I need this data on time, and now this data which you as an auditor is seeing would be more authentic, okay, without
Mm.
manual intervention if there is a proper digitization done, and you can rely on the data, okay, right. But for that, you might have to, slightly advance your own knowledge in terms of how the analytical dashboards work. How does an ERP work? What are those processes? I mean, it should not be just summarized. Okay, just give me these numbers. My job is done. You need to
Mhm.
understand the source of the data, where it's coming from as an auditor. You need to have a lot of connect in that, ecosystem. What's happening as an auditor,
Yeah.
right? And technologically advanced, I think take up some trainings. It's not a big elephant to really take it. You can take up those trainings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because India as a country, we have too much compliance, and technology can help. In my last podcast, I was talking about ESG compliance. India has just made it notified it on 1st April. And if you have a good CIO and if you have a good IT advisory, then it can help immensely because any new compliance, people just look up and say, first of all, how do we avoid it? That is the first question that everybody has. Second, okay, we cannot avoid it, then how do we just tackle it? And what is the cost of non-compliance? So that is the first calculation everybody has. If it's not, what the yahan jaane do. That's actually the reason why.
You got it right.
No, that's actually the reason why TDS returns are you get fined 200 rupees a day. That's the actual reason why they have such heavy fines because it's somebody else's money and you better comply. But
I
again,
mean, you got it right.
hmm,
But if you look at these large companies also, I'll tell you, recently we gave training to their employees, that how not to use your personal devices uh, towards, using it on social activities that you might do. You might download a movie or something, just to educate them, because ultimately everyone is working as a team. So when we go as an advisory, we kind of, are not only into technology, but what are the other things, how your data should not be leaked, so we connect with the employees. There's an employee engagement aspect that is coming into picture,
yeah,
and somewhere the auditors also start, they have to be in that kind of a ecosystem. You understand? It's
yeah,
now everyone everything is transparent there, right? It's gone are those days, okay, the auditor is sent days, why it is sent, you don't know. Because if you say if there is a corporate fraud happens, immediately you know what happens, right?
yeah.
The
Auditor कौन था?
regulatory would just come into
Who
and
was the auditor?
just put a
How
pen
did
drive
he
and
detect it?
no, he would just get into put some pen drive into your
Yeah,
server and gather the data and just go away. And they
mm,
would actually they have tracking tools to know. So see, it's an advanced world, I'll tell you.
yeah,
uh, you need to really pull up your socks. Everyone. That doesn't only apply to auditors. It could apply to a layman as well, right?
yeah. Because we are in the era of BYOD also.
Yes.
And BYOD, see, when I remember reading that during my CFNL days, and it looked like a nightmare to me at that point of time. This is at least around in 2014 or 15. I was wondering what kind of lunacy is this? Would anybody allow their own device?
Maybe
But
I don't know if I'm right. At least in your chartered accountancy course, someone from the industry should be called in to give the right mindset at that level itself when they are studying.
yeah,
Okay, because if you see today and then 5 years down the line, okay, the technology world will be totally different. We would have evolved into something much bigger.
hmm,
Okay, now, we as technology folks are constantly advancing. Right now, when we both are talking today, something somewhere in the world is evolving. Okay, I'll
yeah,
tell you, there are now newer ways of working. Um, now there are no code platforms. Are you aware of that? Now, so it means these softwares come in such a way that you don't need a programmer to change your business process in the system. So you as a user is
mhm.
given a training. Say you just drag and drop and change your
Yeah. They
workflows.
just give you the starter code and code building is already done.
just drag and drop. These are no code, low code kind of things are now really, people have started accepting it. Okay.
Yeah,
So you as an auditor would also be, there in that saying, hey, just take up this, log in into this, and you build your own reports that how you want.
yeah,
So you understand this is a scenario
yeah,
coming up next, right? So
yeah.
take up those
But
trainings. I think the mindset is important.
yeah, but I'm more into anti-fraud work, and it's always systems, and you always see that somebody underestimates a system. The simplest example recently is that PMC bank fraud. It is a bank software, and the see, sir, every ask any auditor. The first rule of a bank software is that it cannot be tampered with the backdated entries. We can never pass a backdated entry in a bank, but they managed a loophole. The system in a PMC bank, they managed a loophole where they would pass backdated entries. So in case anybody comes to check it, you won't find anything in it.
That's a problem. So you're basically your system is not secured. Okay. And then that's, you're not following the best practices today. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but
look at it, when we go for an advisory, and if I
mhm.
have done some processes, one of the Fortune 500 companies, how about that process being followed here at your level? Suddenly, you are gaining a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but that is a fascinating aspect about that fraud. It was not the statutory or the financial aspect because there is that inherent assumption backdated entries are not possible. But if an IT audit was conducted to check the systems, that loophole would have been easily found out. That is actually the extreme core area, preventive area of that fraud. Now, so finally, you started Granuler during the pandemic. Now, the pandemic was an area where if people were just being unemployed at that point of time, and being a fresher was a nightmare. And I got my ACCA membership on 28th February 2020, which is the worst possible time because 1 week later, our prime minister came on TV and said, "Sampurna lockdown." And I was just sitting at home wondering why, because it was a nightmare situation for many of us. How did you, I mean, go about that worst period of time and made Granular?
Well, trust me, uh, that period was difficult for everyone. Okay, because everyone had to transition from the current profile what they were doing, right? Someone was asked to move, to a foreign location, or someone was just transferred just before lockdown. So things were difficult. Well, coming to my per se, I always had a passion to do something and basically give back to the industry. Okay. And Granular actually focuses on that. One is we want to support in that segment where technology is a weaker area. Okay, in terms of the MSME segment, right? And we kind of provide flexible models like 6 hours a week or 2 days a week kind of model, so it can bring the cost down for a high-end CIO to come and advise you. And basically, we train your IT team, your people to kind of take it ahead from there. So the company doesn't need to pay on the liable to pay on the employee benefits. On the other end, we are trying to also solve one of the biggest employee sustainability aspect. There are a lot of unemployed people, you would say, beyond the age of 45. Okay.
Yeah,
And you would see this very, very experienced and good talent is today lost. Many people lost their jobs, and it's very difficult to get a job in an IT, especially where if you are 45 plus. Trust me, that's a challenge there. Now that talent, we invite them. Come on, you don't have entrepreneur skills. It's okay. You come with us. You work on quality projects along with us. Bring your experience in. We have a framework. We follow that framework, and there we are. So it's kind of a multifaceted kind of a service that we are offering, and ultimately, see, it should benefit people. If it's a client, then he should get business benefits out of it. We should get more operational efficiency. He should get meaningful data,
yeah,
right? And then we prosper together, and that's the space we are in. So overall, Granular really transformed the way even we were thinking. When I was thinking, when I started during lockdown, it was more of an idea. Today, it is more into execution. We are doing a lot of stuff. We're doing some quality projects actually.
yeah,
We're tied up with some US firms for no-code platforms. We are constantly advancing. We're seeing what is in the market. Come on, let's can we see if it's possible for my clients to use it? Okay. So doing a lot of things, it's a fun journey, I'll tell you what. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, there was some kind of a risk at that point, but I think we've overcome that.
We need to be ahead. There is no option. It's either technology becomes redundant and we cannot afford to be redundant with technology. We need to be upgraded with all the latest tools. Compliance, going around it is not an option today. Staying ahead is the only way to survive, not even be ahead. That's different. Being ahead is actually the mode of survival today. So, Ravi, sir, it was fun to have you. Thank you for enlightening us. And I wish you all the best for you and Granular. And I would like to know more about what is the next big thing in tech from you.
Thank you so much, Anirudh. It was really a pleasure speaking to you. I'm glad even the financial and auditors are now talking about technology. And we are people who are technology enablers, right?
Yeah.
We don't run the businesses. And we would definitely, want to connect with you again. And, we are into technology coaching as well. There are a lot of new stuff happening. We are being in a creative world, trust me. And it's a fun journey, as I said. So really looking forward to connect with you again, Anirudh.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. See you later. Until next time.